Very good afternoon to all the viewers. I, Ekant Shukla, on behalf of Saga Group of Institutions, would like to welcome you all in our event Cystic Management Trends. Today, we are having with us a very special guest. He is Mr. Krishna Kumar Ramanathan, Vice President and Country Business Head, Siemens Limited, Mumbai. Also, we have with us Ms. Prachi Srivastav, Group Head Corporate Relations, and Mr. Sumin Mitra, HOD, Cystec MBA. Now, I would like to give our viewers a brief about our guest profile. Sir is having overall experience of 29 years in the field of industrial products, of which the last 25 years have been with Siemens Limited. He has a rich experience with diverse cultures across locations in India with a short stint in Europe. Sir is an alumni of BITS Pilani, where he had completed his MTech in software systems, and also he has pursued post-graduation diploma in technology management from the European School of Management and Technology, Berlin. Now, I would like to handle the podium to Ms. Prachi Srivastav.
Once again, a very good afternoon to all the viewers. Of course, yes, entirely our privilege that Sir is with us. And, the basic of brief discussion on the management is because, today we are in pandemic and, we required something on a business head that they will entertain our audience and tell them what is the necessity of this terminology. Because, the formulation, the vision, the appropriateness, and the risk management includes all these things. How these industries are capable of doing such a large amount. So it will be a great understanding from a business head. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Prachi, Ekansh, and Professor Somin. And good afternoon to all the students. I hope I am audible and visible. Maybe Prachi and Ekansh can give a thumbs up from their side. Okay, that's good. Let me share my presentation. Give me a second. Just let me know once my slide is visible. Ekansh, just let me know once it is visible. Just give me a
Yes, sir, now it's visible.
Okay. So once again, greetings to all of you, and I am really enjoying this interaction, and I thank the team for giving me an invite and having me here. I always get excited when talking to students. It takes me a little back to my own days as a student as well. So once again, greetings to all of you. Before I go, a little bit about myself. Of course, you heard the introduction from Ekansh and from Prachi. But more than that, what's been my career journey like? Right? What has been my curve? How have I moved through different roles, different functions? So I just wanted to give you a little brief of that. So I started my career in 1992. I guess many of you wouldn't have been born then. As a trainee engineer with an automotive component company called Coimbatore Forgings. I then moved on to, I was basically responsible for production, quality assurance, and design. Ekansh, I'll just pause here. Can you hear me? Because I get silence on the other side. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm audible. Okay,
We are
fine.
able to,
Thanks.
yeah,
So I
we
was
are able to listen.
perfect. So these are the modalities in a webinar. You keep checking once in a while because you don't know. Sometimes you keep speaking and you realize that the others are not there on the call. So that's why I just checked. So I was responsible for production, quality assurance, and design, making propeller shafts for automotive companies. And from there, I moved into sales, B2B sales, with Crompton Greaves as a marketing engineer, handling rotating machines, channel sales, and all that. Then I moved into Siemens, my current organization, in 1996, where I was a sales engineer for what they call motors, drives, and UPS. And this was also in Coimbatore, and it was for OEM sales and for drives and making customer design specific products and so on. Then I moved to Chennai, where I was the product promoter. This was a marketing job. Now, all of you are students, MBA students, so you will definitely know the differences and nuances between sales and marketing. Marketing is much more comprehensive and encompasses the full value chain as compared to sales. Sales is only one element of the whole thing. So then I was doing regional marketing for a while, and from there I relocated to Siemens Germany in Nuremberg in the large drives engineering group. So basically, we were engineering large drive systems for the world. Large drives, as in drives which are rated in megawatts, 5 megawatt to 40 megawatt. Large motors, large drives, and the associated systems such as transformers and circuit breakers and all of that. So, how to size it for a cement plant, how to do it for a steel plant, those kind of learnings. So, I was based in the factory at Nuremberg, and I was there for about a year. When I came back, I got transferred to Mumbai, where I was heading the business development for rotating machines. And in this, I had a country overview and a profit and loss responsibility. And I was responsible for strategy and marketing. That's when I actually started learning about strategy. Till then, till 2005, I also didn't have any clue about what strategy was all about. And one of the first things I did on my job was I was asked to make a strategic plan within 2 weeks, and I didn't know how to go about it. But then you were thrown into it and you learned it, so it was a pretty exciting time for me as well. I did that role for about 4 years and then moved to Calcutta, where I handled. I was a regional manager for Siemens for the automation and drives business, and here you learn because Calcutta is very different, and the people are different and the customers are different. It's a very metal and mining oriented business in Calcutta as compared to other parts of the country. And of course, in the Northeast, you have the agro based industries like tea and all that. So it was a good experience learning there, building relationships with customers. So that was a good stint. And 2011, back to Mumbai, and this time I went to a service business unit. I was heading the service business unit. So I learned a little bit about service as well because earlier my experience was only in sales or marketing, business development, or in engineering. Now I learned a little bit about service as well. And from there, I moved to the corporate office where I was the chief customer officer for Siemens India, reporting to our CEO for about 4 years. And in this role, then I handled the business of Siemens across all Siemens verticals for a given customer. So we had 27 top customers, each one had a key account manager, and I coordinated their work. That was my role. So it was a good experience there, working in the corporate office and also working with the best people because when you work with the best people, they challenge you in different ways and you also learn, you also improve. So that was something that I did. Then after that, for 2 years, I moved to the power sector. I was the head of sales for transmission business within Siemens Energy. So I learned about power infrastructure, transmission business, the greening of India's grid with all the renewable energy coming in, what are the technology changes that are happening, how to tender out on turnkey substation business, product business. So it was a good learning experience for me from the power side of the business. And now, since the last few months, I have moved once again, and my current role is as the Vice President and Country Business Head for large drive applications. As I mentioned to you earlier when I was talking about my career, this is basically the very large drive systems, very large motors, and some solution related business that we do for cement and steel plants and so on. So I head this business, and we have around 320 odd employees. And I'm currently based out of Mumbai, and this is my role. So one thing which I would say, and this is there in the summary headline, I believe that while you have worked, I have worked in sales, marketing, service, general management, etc. I have had success across my roles, and I think what has given me this success is a continuous learning. Every role is an opportunity to learn, to add to your perspectives. It's important to develop different perspective. Why this is it? I'll come when I come to the topic of strategic management, because strategic management is all about managing using different perspectives. You have to learn to look at a problem from different angles and different perspectives, and by working in so many functions and in so many roles across different locations, I have had the advantage of learning from several colleagues, several team members, several managers, very different perspectives, and I have been able to bring all of them together and develop my own unique perspective as well. So, this is a little bit about my career growth curve till now. Okay, I'll move on to the next slide. Ekansh, just let me know when the next slide pops up because sometimes there is a lead or lag.
Sir, it is visible.
Okay. So, strategic management, right? This is the topic for today's chat with all of you. And when I look at it, there are two elements to this. One is the strategy, and the other is the management part. Now, strategy is something, as per definition, it is a plan of action which is designed to achieve a major aim. Note the word major, it's not for a small thing, but something concrete or substantial has been achieved. So, strategy is a plan of action for that. Management is essentially having the responsibility and control for an organization or for a unit or for a company. Well, that is management. And strategic management is actually an interplay of the two, but for a common purpose. So you need to exercise your management responsibility and management control to push the organization in a strategic direction so that the organization is able to achieve its goals. It is an interplay of both strategy and management for a common purpose. That is the definition as I see it. To me, more than a definition, a textbook, this is what I was also discussing with Professor before the call started, is sharing anecdotal experience, from my life and my career. And this is why. So I will switch over to the next slide. Ekansh, let me know once it is done. And basically, I'm asking questions. Right? Please feel free to put your answers on the chat box all through the presentation. The next slide is a question slide where I want your answers. So do put in. Other than that, also throughout the presentation, whenever you have questions, please put your specific questions on the chat box because today I intend to have 30 minutes out of presentation. And the balance 30 minutes, I want to have an open engagement and interaction with all of you students. So I'll go to the next one. Ekansh, just let me know if it's visible.
Yes, sir.
So this is the first question. We'll talk about the first question. First question as a challenge for all of you students of management. Sales are going down consistently in a certain company, for example, over many quarters. So what should the manager do? What should the sales manager do? So please share your answers. What do you think individually? What do you think the manager should do if sales is going down consistently? Can they speak, Ekansh, or they only have to put their feedback on the chat?
Sir, they just need to type the comments and
Okay.
I'll read them. Yeah.
Fair enough. So please put in your answers to the first example question. Sales is going down consistently over many quarters, which means it is not a short-term phenomenon. Over the last 12 months, 18 months, consistently sales are going down. So what should a manager do? That is a question,
Okay.
and I want to hear your answers.
Yeah. So, sir, one of the comments that we are having is it is saying that a manager should rethink about the strategy.
Okay. Okay. More answers, please.
So, work on the product, as in change the product.
Okay. Good. Any other answers?
A change in process.
Process. Okay.
Revisit your plans.
Revisit your plans. Okay.
A change in vision.
Change strategy is the same thing. Change in plan also is related to change in strategy. But yes, more or less people are answering on those lines. Any one more answer, and then we'll skip to the next question.
Some market survey the customers so that they could have a more customer oriented plan.
Very good point. Very good point.
Analyzing the
So thanks.
competitors.
Very good point. No, thanks. I think I will show my own answers in the next slide. But before that, I would also just like to talk about the second question because it's different. The whole frame and the whole context is different now. Second question is a soft issue. Now, sales is a hard topic, very tangible. You have product, you have a certain price, you have a certain revenue, you have certain profit, you have certain market share. Everything is definable in numbers. The second question is a soft issue, which managers also have to handle. Employee motivation is low. So, what should the management do? Again, please put in your answers on our chat box. We'll give you a minute or so, and then Ekansh will consolidate and read out the answers, please. The answers that are being sought is to the example 2. If the employee motivation is low in your organization, what should the management do? Please put in your answers. Feel free, feel candid. There's no right or wrong answer. I just want to have an open and frank exchange with all of you.
So, introduction of an incentive plan.
Okay.
Make them feel they deserve applause.
Okay.
Greet them and treat them kindly with gesture.
Okay.
So, you should take your people into confidence to understand the real concerns.
Okay.
People should be made realize that they are the assets of the organization.
Mm-hmm. And this is more or less the similar vein as the earlier comments.
There should be some contest introduction within the organization.
Contest.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you. I think I heard it out, and many of them are relevant as well. The point is, I will now answer both of these in the next slide. Not answer basically, but try to redefine the question from different perspectives. So I basically show you two problems. One is a sales growth problem, and the second is the employee motivation problem. But when you look at it from a strategic management perspective, there are always different angles to solving a problem. So when you come to the sales growth problem, and some of you did allude to many of this or most of this, so it could be a customer side issue, right? Customer is not getting the right product, or he's not getting it at the right price, or he's not getting it at the right time, or he's not getting the right commercial terms and conditions to buy the product. So it could be a customer side issue, or your sales team is not able to deliver the right response within the right time to the customer, speed of response, quality of response, something is lacking, right? Or the customer is moving on to something else. Your product is no longer relevant for him. His whole business is changing, right? So there are a lot of things that could be at the customer side. On the right hand side, infrastructure side, it could be your own sales infrastructure. It could be your own sales network, your warehouses, it could be your channel partners, it could be the amount of finished goods inventory you're carrying. Are you able to service the market in time? Your own infrastructure, that could be an issue that you need to address. Then again, or it could be a market issue on the left side, you see, it could be a, let me see if I can. Yeah, or it could be a market issue. So when you say market, it's the entire thing. How is the customer moving? Like it's like, for example, sometimes things change fundamentally in the market. Like they say, the market for at least 10 devices have vanished ever since a smartphone came in. The market for clocks, for setting alarm clocks, market for flashlights, market for calculators, market for cameras, market for a whole lot of things have just vanished once a smartphone has come. So markets are also changing, markets are also evolving. So this is a big thing that you need to check when you are analyzing the sales growth problem. It could be a profit issue. It could be the fact that your product is not competitive enough, so you're forced to sell it at a higher price. So you need to revisit. So one of you mentioned this as well, to relook at your portfolio, see whether you are pricing it right, whether you have the economies of scale to manufacture and target a higher growth or a higher sales volume. It could be a profit related issue. It could be something that the competition is doing. Your competitors are also full of smart people, as I often say to my team members. They are also imagining things. They are also coming up with new strategies. They are also talking to the same customers. And it also depends a lot on what your competition is doing. Lastly, technology, right? Technology keeps changing, keeps evolving. Are you still trying to push the same old technology into the market? So I deliberately didn't give an answer to the sales growth problem, but in the context of strategic management, I have told you what are the possible questions as future MBA students you should be asking to solve the sales growth problem. So this is what strategic management means. It means taking in multiple perspectives and bringing them all together in a common logical thread to solve a given problem. Now we come to the second one, employee motivation problem. Right here also we have a soft issue, unlike sales growth, which is a hard issue, and all of us can address it in numbers. But in an employee motivation problem, it's touchy feely, it's not tangible. You can't assign a number to it. So it's an employee motivation problem. So this also one has to evaluate from different perspectives when you look at strategic management. One is aspirations. Are you able to fulfill the aspirations of your employees? Right? If your employees' career aspirations, their aspirations for growth is not being met, then you will definitely have an employee motivation going down. Is your organization growing fast enough? If, for example, your organization is stagnant, you have a sales growth problem, your organization is stagnant, that means that you are not able to recruit more people, you're not able to create more teams, you're not able to promote many more people to managers. Existing managers are not moving on to higher positions, so there is no vertical growth for the employees. So this creates a growth related problem. The organization is not growing, so everybody is static in their current roles and positions, which again leads to an employee motivation problem. It could be something to do with the working culture. Some of you said this. Are you respected? Are you heard out? Are you taken into confidence? Yes, very much is a question of culture. How good is your manager? Is he or she a leader, or are they just a manager? Right? What is the culture in your organization? Are you encouraged to speak up? Is your opinion sought for any major topic or issue? Are you taken into confidence? Yeah. How is the working culture? Do you feel comfortable in that organization, or is there too much politics which prevents you from speaking up? And people think that, I mean, what is the point? Whether I talk or not, nothing is going to change. So this again is an employee motivation problem. Salary incentives. Yes, some of you did say that. Are you paying the right salary, or are you having the right incentive structure to motivate your employees to perform better? If not, then this also needs to be relooked at, or it could create an employee motivation problem. How is the job market? This is also a big factor of employee motivation problem. If the job market is hot and there are many jobs going on with good salaries being offered by different companies, etc., you also have an employee motivation problem inside the company, because you see more and more people leaving. There is a lot of attrition, and then the remainder of the employees definitely have a motivation problem when they see their close colleagues and friends all resign and move to other organizations. You will have an employee motivation problem. Learning. Again, this is very important, because as employees, what we learn when we graduate is only one part, a very small part of the learning. What you really learn doing your job through the course of your career, that's a real learning in your life. And this learning, if it is not being provided, if employees don't have an atmosphere of learning and development where they see themselves also developing as employees, as people, as managers, then also that creates an employee motivation problem. So just to answer, so both of these problems that I put to you, both of these examples that I put to you in the previous slide, I have not attempted to give an answer, because there is no common answer. but I have attempted to give you different perspectives from which you can think, different lenses. If you, some of you, if you have read Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan's books, he talks about the six lenses of management or something like that. So you are looking at the same problem through different lenses. Each lens shows a problem in a different light, in a different color, of a different size. So you are able to see it from different perspectives. And this is what strategic management is all about. Looking at all the aspects, whether it is a sales growth problem or an employee motivation problem, and bringing the solution into a common thread, which one central action that you take will address all of these problems meaningfully. So this is what strategic management is all about. Now, why do we need strategic management? Right? I mean, it's all been there for a while, and whatever we are discussing here is being done by managers. It's not something new. You would have heard this over the last 10, 20 years. Many of these things are already being done. But why is it of increasing relevance today? Why is this topic so important? This is because, just let me know, Ekansh, if you can see the slide.
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Thanks. This is because the world is getting increasingly VUCA. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. Everything is changing here today. The rate of change of products and life cycle is drastically reducing, which means that earlier on, if you developed a product, for example, the earlier days of the mobile phones, 1995, 96, India got the first mobile phones. You bought a phone, you could easily have it for 5 years or even more than that. Today, you probably can't have a mobile phone for more than 2 years because things keep changing. The software changes and the phone capacity is not good enough, or your memory is full, or that you don't have the latest features, you don't have the latest security features. So the thing is, look at the smartphone market. If they have to design a product, they have to come out with like 5 to 6 product launches every year. Now, to do 5 or 6 product launches every year, just imagine how arduous their task will be for the R&D to capture the market trends, to develop new products, to come up with something which is ahead of competition in such a fast-changing world. So the world is fast-changing. It's volatile. It's very uncertain. And it's very, very complex. Today, everything is intertwined in the world. And any action you take here will have some repercussions somewhere else. You all read about the Apple smartphone manufacturing unit in Bangalore. So there was some labor-related issue there, and but Apple, the globally headquarters, had to step in and clarify the issue and cool down the tempers of the people and the government and all that. So everything is interconnected. Everything in the world is interconnected, and it's becoming increasingly complex. COVID-19, the pandemic that all of us are facing today, it's a clear example of us having the necessity of a strategic management. Because when the pandemic came, it took all of us by surprise. None of us were prepared for it. We didn't have the infrastructure for it. We didn't know how we would all continue our life, working, studying in this new environment, in this new normal. But what we all did was, knowingly, unknowingly, political leaders, doctors, business chiefs, they all unknowingly, what happened was we all emerged in this new digital way of working in a new normal, merging of the physical and the digital to a phygital mode of interactions, involvements. And how we did this is basically, that's why the world is changing, and like the pandemic disruption, we will definitely have more disruptions coming up in the future as well from different things. So strategic management is needed because the world is fast changing, and we need to keep pace with the change, which means we need to track all the elements that are causing these changes. And when you are focusing on each one of those little elements, that is when you understand the context completely. The picture becomes clear, and then you can take the right strategic management action so that you're able to cover all the perspectives and move your business forward. This is my last slide. This is a summary slide. Ekansh, just let me know
Visible,
if you
sir.
can see it.
Yeah.
So
It
just
is
to
visible.
summarize whatever I have said, strategic management is the management of an organization's resources to achieve its goals, objectives. It involves setting the objectives, analyzing the competitive environment, analyzing your own internal strengths of your own organization, evaluating various strategies, and ensuring that we roll out the strategies across the organization, monitor its performance till the goal is achieved. So this was a little bit about strategic management from my perspective, and I hope it was useful to all of you. I'll stop the sharing right now, and I'll come back to the video mode. Just give me a second. I stopped the sharing now, and I'm back to the video mode. So over to you, please, Ekansh, Prachi, Professor. Over to you, please.
Right, sir. So it's a brief insight you have already given. Very interestingly, we came to know about your, very long-term journey, and of course, your, 28 years of association with this organization. And this is very, very good thing that like to tell all the fresher in, management students like to hold on for a position and expected a growth and everything comes around, but you have to stay positive for a good tenure. And secondly, a lot many profiles you have been through, like from technical to strategic to regional to everything, a lot of amount of learning, and that to concise within a 30-minute talk. It is just not uh, enough for us as of now. But yes, broadly speaking, like to hear certain things in our management concepts, because the awareness of such topics are rarely shown to students, because they are more strict to the books and everything. And we prefer to have it just like we have a culture of internships. Until unless you are not known to a particular organization culture, we cannot step one by one for these students. So to step ahead, let's for your time it was intern culture was not there, I guess. But this time, if they are having this culture, they have to opt this. And with you seniors, because fresher engineers do not able to connect to such a posh profile in their early stages. So for them, it is very necessary to have a particular discussion of a particular bracket, so that they understood beyond the timelines that okay, human resource, marketing, sales, operations, things are beyond that, and you have to go beyond that, and you have to understand each and every field in depth. So as for example, it's like a news every day. Technologies keep on changing, circumstances are keep on changing. We have to very quickly switch our product and profile and the services which we are offering. So for example, previous days, we are very fond of going restaurants. Now we are waiting for the home delivery and everything, so we have to very quickly switch on these things, and strategic management plays a vital role in that. The decision making, and the on a very strategic note, it's always a risk ahead by the success. Dar ke aage jeet hai. So you have to all these things and build a particular network where you have this particular thing and insight. We have to do it, maybe whatever comes down the way, but we have to go and fight for the same if we need to achieve the success. So we do have a positive note, and but today itself, like World Bank says that our economic growth rate would be 8.3%, which is against a global rate like 5.6. So it's a positive news for us. How these all things are happening. So because people like you, companies out there, they are working on strategies. They are keeping their eye on the strategy competition, and they are coming with something good for the customers and for the people. So slowly and widely, we are used to this particular thing also, and
Okay.
student will be having an edge, like they have to do that. But yes, for with you it is possible, like a little bit interaction to our students, make them aware of certain things, and provide them a zeal to opt for such profiles, and go ahead with all the awareness and activities. So thank you
Okay.
for your such a brief insights. Ikansh, would
Oh,
you like to
my pleasure.
ask you, two or three questions, asking from the student? So could you please raise
Yeah.
this to sir?
I would like it to be as interactive as possible, and students can come up with their real life issues or challenges or something that they would like a different perspective on. So I'm really happy to answer. And I believe that in learning, if you sit in a Harvard Business School classroom, the real learning you get is not from the professor, but from the other students in the class. It's a peer learning that is focused upon when you discuss all the case studies and different questions, etc., are being asked. So I would like to, simulate a similar kind of atmosphere here, where you all ask different questions, and from you learn amongst yourself as a peer group, and I also learn a little bit from you. So I really look forward to the questions. Over to you, please.
Okay, so sir, one of the questions that we are having here is one of the student is asking that you have also been abroad. So, what were the different work cultures that you found at that particular location were different from the Indian work culture that we are having over here?
That's a good question. And to be specific, I was in Germany, and Germans are very, very famous for their systematic way of approach. It's not unusual to have an entire year planned out for them. Every day in a year is planned out, including what they will do on different weekends. Everything is planned out, and they lead a very, very systematic life. And that system actually helps them to perform much better. So, a team of German colleagues will simply outperform a team of Indian colleagues because they are all working in a system and they're very disciplined with respect to their work, and they completely depend upon system. Even for a trainee in India, I could see that a trainee. So I was a trainee in India, right, at some point of time. So to learn something, to understand something, you had to go and ask your seniors, how does this work or how does that happen? Whereas, same when I was working in Germany, and there was a new trainee in our group, and he didn't go around asking anybody anything, but he just went into the server, and all the training material was there, a very structured way of learning training. And in 6 months, he was very, very effective. I could see that he was almost as good as the others with experience. He could manage things on his own. So everything is very systematic and very structured, and people are very disciplined. The second thing I learned is they also have a very healthy work versus life balance. Now, this was almost 18 years ago. And even in India, still today, we don't have that level of work life balance. Work encroaches into life, as they're very clear about the work and the life and the balance. And they devote their time at the office, but they also devote equal quality time at home. So these are the two things I learned in my stint at Germany. And also, it is not necessarily common everywhere. Every country has its own culture. So I'm referring specifically to Germany. The discipline and the systematic way they work and their work-life balance, I thought both were real good things to learn from them.
Right. So another question we are having is, according to you, what are those three essential skill sets that are required in an individual for his selection in various organizations?
So it
I
is
guess.
basically no, it's okay. It's basically two combination of two. I wouldn't say three. It's your aptitude plus your attitude. So aptitude will cover your academic qualifications so far. What have you studied and what are your grades and so on. And your attitude will be how you project yourself during the interview, how you project yourself, what are your communication skills, how are you able to get your points across to the interviewer. So these are the kind of things. So you need to focus on both. And I always say that and it's always a combination. Suppose you have a super academic track record, but during the interview you're not able to present yourself properly. So you might be 100% here, but if you're only at 20% in presenting yourself, still the net is point one, or one into point two, it becomes point two. Whereas if you are, let's say, 60% good at academics, but you are 60% also good at communicating, then it is point 0.6 into point 0.6 is 36.36, which is higher than point two. So you need to be balanced in your skills. You need to have the right academic skills. At the same time, you also need to demonstrate the right attitude. And what do I mean by right attitude? That apart from being able to communicate your accomplishments in life very clearly, also your hobbies. What kind of a person are you? Why are you a better fit into their organization than any of the other candidates? There should be a matching between what the organization is looking for that particular role, and what kind of a person are you? What kind of value system do you possess? That's an important thing. The other thing is whether you show the that extra spark or that extra energy that you will super achieve, or you will super perform in a given role once you're selected by the organization. This is something a little bit intangible, but all interviewers do look at that. It's you whether you have a little bit of a personal halo around you, right? Your attitude, your aptitude, and of course how you carry and how you project yourself. All this is important. These are the two things I would say: your aptitude and your attitude.
Right. Uh, One more question we have: how to conceptualize a model for creating a strategic plan for a company? With an example, during COVID, anything special that Siemens is coming up for their customers?
That's a very good question, and I'm happy to also answer that. So during these COVID times, we started a project within Siemens. So there were different technologies. We said we are a technology company, and how can we use our technology to help our customers or also help our employees? So we worked on different things. So one of the things is we used 3D printing, additive manufacturing, to create certain fixtures that could be put onto the doors so that people could open the doors using their elbows or using their foot, so that in a post-COVID environment, when people started coming back to office, they didn't need to use their fingers or their palm to touch a door surface. They could simply open any door using their elbow or their foot, or some of the doors also be converted into an automatic door, so that when people come, the door automatically opens and you're able to pass through. So that's one thing, and there is a lot of engineering behind that, but the solution was fairly simple. And later on, we also passed on this solution, this technology, to some hospitals and some academic institutions as well, and so that they could also use the same technology license free from us and manufacture their own thing, because all the design was there, it was uploaded. Anybody could download those designs, and if they had a 3D printer, they could print out those fixtures themselves. So that's one thing that we did. Second thing is we created an AGV, and the autonomous guided vehicle, which we repurposed. It was an existing technology, but we repurposed it during COVID times so that it could go around and spray disinfectants in the factory shop floor. And we built the AGV using LiDAR so that it could navigate itself. And anybody could upload a map of a particular factory or a bay in a particular shop floor. And without Wi-Fi, once the data is uploaded, it would go automatically on its own, disinfecting the factory. It had the ability to stop when human movement was there. It had the ability to come back in case the power was running low, or in case the disinfectant quantity was below the minimum level. So we created an AGV, and we also piloted it at a few factories across Siemens, so that when the factories reopened, they reopened in July last year after 2 months of closure. And immediately all the disinfection could happen on a regular basis after every shift. That is something we did. The third thing was we integrated our building management system along with a thermal camera, so that automatically people could be given access rather than manually somebody taking your temperature. We had a camera which would scan your facial image. It would actually scan the eye canvas and determine the temperature in the corner of your eye. That is the most accurate, because otherwise, if you come from sunshine, your body temperature might be higher. So it scanned the eye canvas, which is the most reliable, and automatically that information was fed to the security gate. So security staff were also given a layer of additional protection, and the gate would automatically open if your temperature was normal, or it would show a red light and it wouldn't open, and you would be directed to the company doctor. This is another solution that we did, which also we piloted in some factories of ours. Another thing we did was we built a mobile app, and of course, this in a startup mode we did it. And after trials for about 300 odd employees, and we wound it down because by the time all the Arogya Setu and other apps are also come, so they use that. So basically, we use the mobile app. We designed it for three purposes. One is to ensure social distancing. So using Bluetooth low energy feature, we said that two people, if they come closer than 1 meter to each other, both their mobile phones will start buzzing so that they maintain the social distance. And it will also record your contact history. So if you, whom did you speak for what period of time, anonymized, the data is not known, but you know, if somebody falls sick, then you know whom you have been speaking to, and all the persons in that person's contact history could get an alert that somebody that you were speaking to has now fallen sick. So you might want to go into self quarantine. So this is, and the third thing was we also track the movement of a person. We have very large campuses. Using the Wi-Fi network, we can track the movement of person so that if somebody fell sick, then we know that deep disinfection needs to be done in which areas that the person visited because the entire campus couldn't be disinfected. So we worked on this technology as well. The other fifth technology we built was we built a mobile CT, a CT scanner. Now this is very complex because a CT scanner is a radioactive piece of equipment and it can't be used anywhere. So we built a mobile CT with a mobile container which had lead lining and all that, which required approval from the Atomic Energy Board for use. And this was fitted onto a truck and it was given to a charitable organization which could go around because CT scan is very important if you want to diagnose the extent of damage to the lungs, which is typical in a COVID infected patient. A CT scanner was important. So having a separate dedicated CT scanner would also help prevent infection to the others. So this is something that we did. Lastly, we also built a dashboard, particularly for SMEs, for a COVID readiness for them. So based on various inputs for their own supply chain, for their own employees, help system, alert system, planning raw materials, etc., etc. How to do it in these COVID times. We also built a dashboard for them so that remotely also we could help them. And this also we gave it actually to some of our key top vendors and all that as a software platform as an app. We gave it to them as well. So this is what we did. So COVID caught us all by surprise, but even in this surprise, suddenly pivot and turn around and try to use our own in-house technology, but in a way that could help our own organization, our employees, and of our customers and our suppliers. These are the 6 kind of solutions that we did. I hope that answers the question.
Hats off to your organization that a lot many product and solution you have come up with during a very short span of time. So to not only thinking about the technology, you have only been implemented all those and it is ready to use, I guess. Right. So hats off to you again. So Ikansh, do we have any other question left? I guess questions are there, but you have already answered those. So, sir, it was a very brief insights you have given to our students and to us as well. So, nevertheless, whenever time came, we are looking forward to interact more and more on these terms, so that we can get a better awareness about the product and solutions also. So, thanks a lot, sir, for your time and your efforts to interact with these students. Thank you, audience,
Thank
for
you so much. Thanks for the
listening.
opportunity. And once again, best wishes to the students. I wish you all the best in your career. Thank you so
Thanks
much.
a lot. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, audience.